You are good to go.
On all three?
On all three.
Hey everybody! Welcome to the Team Powerhouse show, live with you every Tuesday night. Eric Vasquez on your far right, David Lamel here, and we're excited to be a part of your lives every week on all social media platforms, from Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and so much more. Hopefully our sound quality is good for you. Please let us know if you can't hear us correctly or smoothly. If there's any noise in the background or any kind of ghost through the screen, let us know.
We got to get one of those people in the corner doing the sign.
That's actually a good idea for us. Hence baseball signals.
Yeah.
Tuesday night. So, one of the things we've learned over the last handful of years is things are changing quite a bit on many aspects. And one of the biggest things people are looking to do is invest and become landlords, investors. And it's a great thing to do, but there are many things you need to know about being an investor. And
a lot of pitfalls.
A lot of pitfalls, a lot of things to know, a lot of ways to be protected or unprotected. So you want to be a landlord, you want to invest in property. Do you know what's involved and how that works and what is the best ways to get involved in that?
Well, I mean, it's just finding the right property is a challenge,
Absolutely.
Because you've got if it's something that you're going to be financing, your mortgage payment and everything else has to be below what you're going to be collecting in rent.
Absolutely.
So, it's already a difficult.
One of the things that people, the rate of return, the ROI that people used to say back in the day, I want 10%.
Return on investment, yes.
I want 10%. Now people are down to the ballpark at 6 or 7%.
Well, it's 7% cap rate.
Right.
Yeah, so the bigger, more experienced investors, they're like, has to have a 10% cap rate.
That even the bigger investors right now have actually changed their tune on that because of the fact of what's happening in the market. They're willing to actually go into the ballpark of 6 and 7% because of the amount of rent income that's coming in and cost of properties. So you want to make sure that you say to yourself, I'm investing money, I'm putting it in the bank, am I making more money in the bank or am I making more money in my rental property? And with rents at an all-time high right now, they're actually capitalizing tremendously. Any questions out there, thing that we out there on TikTok?
I don't think there's any CDs that are paying off what a rent can collect.
Absolutely true. So when it comes to, again, owning and investing in a home, is it a single family home for you or is it a multi-family home? You could depend on what location, what town it is, what universities might be in the area, what kind of rental incomes are coming in. Any kind of questions out there?
Corey said send Sylvia over there.
Corey said,
Send Sylvia over there.
send Silvio over there. Silvio.
That's off TikTok.
All right, Corey, love to help you out. Give us more details on Silvio. But I can tell you for sure, if you want questions on this topic, we'd love to go back and forth with you and help you out or if you have any questions. One of the most important things is to get yourself well educated on the kind of property you're buying. Again, whether it's a single family home or a multi-family home, what kind of tenants are you going to have? How do you get tenants? Where are they coming from? Can they afford the rent? How do you check them out? So some things we kind of wrote down over here about, are you looking to buy or invest in your first property? Landlord, question.
Corey said it's me, Dennis, love the show.
Oh, Dennis.
And he said Sylvia.
Dennis. Dennis out of Vegas. I'm sorry. Okay. Dennis, Sylvia. Dennis is a very good client and good friend and watches our show often, and I just completely missed it.
It's in Vegas.
It's in Vegas. We're going to see Dennis pretty soon, actually. Dennis, looking forward to seeing you.
It's 2 o'clock there.
It is 2 o'clock there. Yeah, that's right.
Dennis, get back to work.
Let's see. So the landlord responsibilities, leases. So landlord versus tenant responsibility. We have some stuff about landlords right over here I can talk about. Landlords' rights and responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, if you're renting a property out, you have a lease. Where did you find your lease? Did you find that online? Was it given to you by another investor?
You already have them signing a lease. How about the background check? How about,
yes.
I mean, so there are, I don't know how many there are. There's probably about a dozen rental application places that you can do.
Absolutely.
Okay. I use Rent Spree, pretty much the one associated with the MLS the most, but I don't know what you're using.
No, Rent Spree is a very popular one. There's actually a few different ones, and you're right. One of the biggest questions or problems is, do they do a rental application? Are they actually verifying the information that's on the Rent Spree, for example, like income? Like, are you asking your tenant for a job, your proof of payment, your job, their paychecks, right? Like, these are things you need to make sure you ask a tenant. So they fill this application out on Rent Spree, they could put information on how much they make.
Well, some of the applications, like Rent Spree,
Yeah.
it will upload, copies of, state, pay stubs and stuff like that, so.
That's
So that
important.
stuff, bank statements will be on there, all that stuff will be on there.
So the client can do that. So you as a landlord, that might be a fantastic one to use as Rent Spree. In addition to that, again, having checked out that they have a job, how long have they been at the job for? Is this a brand new job? Is this something you've been there for a few years? Are you gonna do a background check on this client? Where they live now? Why are they leaving where they are now?
References.
References, bingo, bango. They want to know what are the exact reasons why they're leaving. Is it because the place that they're leaving is too small and they want a larger place? Is your rent less expensive than their rent? Have you checked in with their landlord to see if they're paid on time? Now, here's a problem with that. If they haven't and that landlord wants them out, are they going to be honest with you?
That's a good
Right.
question.
Are they going to be honest with you as a future landlord that they paid on time and then you get them and they didn't or they haven't, right?
I'm gonna guess they're gonna complain. They're gonna be like, "Psh, I wouldn't do it if I was you."
Right. Well, you hope so. But then they can't get their tenant out of their house. So they want them out because they want new tenants.
Well, I mean,
The catch
if you're talking
22.
about somebody who's being evicted, then
Right.
you already know,
Right,
what
absolutely.
you're getting. Well, why are you leaving your place? Well, I'm being evicted. Okay, thank you.
Right,
Next.
exactly.
You know?
So how much information do you have about these tenants? Our job, what we do, Eric and I and our team especially, we make sure we try to be as thorough as possible for our clients. You know, if you're one of our investors who are buying a property with us, we want to do the best we can to protect you, the owner of the property. I think a lot of times you as investors may think that you can do it yourselves, and I love that. I love when people try to do it themselves and go through the process of listing their property that's on, I don't know, some website or something. And then you get 1,000 phone calls from people, right, that you don't know who they are. They want to see the property. Are you getting a credit check before they see a property? Personally, here's how I do it. And I'm sure that you do the same, Eric, and our team does as
I'm
a
sure I
whole.
do it similar.
Similar. We make sure before we show anybody a property, we have a credit check done. Just like going to buy a house. Gotta get pre-approved to go look at a house. Gotta get a credit check before you go to get a rental. Because we know landlords right now today, they're looking for a certain kind of credit, right? I mean, if your credit is not, we're not looking about 700 credit, but you gotta have at least, let's say, a 600 credit score on average for a tenant. Typically, people who are renting, not always, are people who've been through some challenges and they're trying to correct their credit and get better on it. So that's fair and reasonable. Maybe they've had some things in their life that
Yeah,
kind
some
of
landlords though, they have, minimum 650 or 675.
Right.
They can't have any bankruptcies, they
Right.
can't have any previous evictions, all this other stuff.
It can be very strict. It's actually sometimes harder to get a rental than it is to buy a place.
Mm-hmm.
Because the landlords who own these properties don't want to have anybody who isn't top tier type of renter or tenant. So if you're looking to be a landlord, you have to decide where you want to fit in that category, what kind of tenant you want to accept, right? Whether it's going to be credit based on, income based on, a combination of both, background check. These are the things we recommend you as a landlord.
Well, especially in a multifamily, because you not only have to think about what you're collecting your rent, but you have tenants in either the first or third floor.
Yes.
If it's a 3-family, let's say,
Yep.
you have to worry about that, because
Absolutely.
you're not gonna put somebody in the middle floor that has a really bad criminal history, because then
Correct.
you're putting them at risk as well.
So these are things you have to think about. So again, you want to invest in property, it's important to know it's a great idea. It's a very good idea to invest in property. The best place you can put your money is in real estate. But are you investing for yourself as a first-time buyer? Are you investing to be a landlord in a single-family home or a multifamily? When you go to buy a single-family home to rent it out, it's tougher for you to maybe get that mortgage, but you have less liabilities as opposed to a multifamily because you have multiple floors. But the multifamily may bring you more income, right, having multiple rents coming in, but more liabilities. So you need to really understand and think about these things before getting involved and understanding it.
Well, the bang for the buck might be the single family. Cause you can get it 2,500, $3,000 for a single family. And it's
Especially
only one
today.
property, it's only one set of mechanicals, you know?
That's another good point you make. As a matter of fact, Eric just said something very important. One set of mechanicals. When you own a multifamily house, you have multiple mechanicals in a property, meaning heating systems, cooling systems if there is. You have much more, you have larger roofs. You have a much bigger, older home typically.
Electrical panels for each unit, you have water heaters for each unit, a boiler or a furnace for each unit.
And a sub panel for the actual landlord that maybe also.
Well,
plays
third
a-
panel, yeah,
third
the
panel.
community spot. Yeah, a lot of the folks that I've worked with, they're like, I didn't know that there was a panel of my own,
Right,
you know?
for the lights outside of the hallways.
Yep.
Or could also be for heat that might be in the hallway in between the floors. But Eric's right, a single family home to buy is a better investment, specifically, I'm gonna say to you, long-term on resale. A single family home will go up in price over time, shorter time, much higher in value than a multifamily. Multifamily, they called it back in the day, or maybe still a cash cow, right? People who own multifamily homes hadn't really repaired or updated or done work to their homes. I will say today that more multifamilies have been worked on and been updated, I find, that with people buying them, because it's much more difficult to buy those homes
The
without.
the better multifamilies that I've come across are the ones where the owner was in one of the 2 units or 3 units.
Facts 100%.
Because they're not gonna let the building get run down in the one that they're living in. They're just not gonna do that.
You
But
definitely,
those are also gonna cost more money,
this is true.
because they're in much better condition.
You might want to look into buying one that is in better condition if you're starting off, which means it might cost more money. Good point, Eric. In addition to that, when you're looking to buy these kind of properties, what kind of how much depth of income or money do you have saved for that rainy day problem?
Well, for some lenders, if it's gonna be a multifamily, or you're gonna be doing it for rental and the lender knows that, you're gonna be required to have a reserve,
Absolutely.
6-month reserve.
Absolutely.
Explain to them what a 6-month reserve is.
You need to have not only your income, right, based on all the pieces of the puzzle as far as mortgage, insurance, and tax, and all kind of stuff. They want to make sure you have at least 6 months to cover the spread in case your tenant doesn't pay you. So you need to have a reserve fund, I'll call it a rainy day fund. A couple more things on that. When it comes to buying these properties, okay, you need to make sure that you look at not only the condition of the property, but what are the elements of an older home. Like in a multifamily, a lot of them are built in 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s. As a matter of fact, most of the time you don't even know the date they were built, and you have to really pay attention to structural issues that may be there. Although I will say the older home is built in much better for the most part. Is that fair and reasonable to say that? As long as they were well maintained through the years, repointing the basements, making sure that the chimneys are in good shape, updating electrical, knob and tube
Knob and
versus
tube.
versus, and you're gonna say, I can see
But
it
you
coming
can't
up.
see knob and tube.
Right, knob and tube versus your copper wire, right?
Yeah, if your agent says knob and tube, you run.
Well, just
Get
know
out.
that you have a lot more money to invest in the electrical system of the house. So there are a lot of things that kind of come into play when it comes to, again, being an investor. Do I buy as an investment property? Am I buying a single family, as Eric said, or a multifamily? Now, from an investment standpoint, from a mortgage broker is going to give you a larger ability to buy on a multifamily because they're using, I think, 75%, 70% of the rent.
70% of the rent is counted as income.
Right, so that gives you a higher purchase price. So instead of buying a $300,000 house, let's say, for example, you might be able to afford a $500,000 multifamily because of that. But remember, that means that payment on that house is going to be much higher for that mortgage payment. So you really need to make sure the numbers work with the rental income that's coming in versus your mortgage payment, as you said.
Mortgage
again.
payment, tax payment, insurances, all of that stuff.
You just touched on something very important. You mentioned insurance.
Insurance
So-
is high on a multi.
Insurance is high, they're higher than they've ever been before. And now in a multifamily, you want to make sure, what is the insurance being set on that property? Is it a very baseline insurance that you picked up just to get the mortgage? Or is it really have some good protection for you in a multifamily house, but based on circumstances that could happen, between the roof and the foundation and water and other kind of things that can happen. Things always come up. The most important is
Jen Crowley question.
Jen Crowley question. It's really, Jen should be coming in here in the next couple of weeks as well for on the podcast. We can actually talk about that, maybe multifamily.
Oh, we forgot one component of folks that are going into the investment realm. It's the house that they're currently living in that they're gonna be moving out of, and they're like, well, I don't need to sell it.
Right.
So I can rent this house.
That's
And
right.
use that money because let's say it's paid off.
Yes.
Beautiful. It's paid off. You're collecting $2,500, $3,000 a month. That $2,500, $3,000 can go towards your mortgage on your next house.
Absolutely. And that's another reason why we're going to be a great mortgage broker to kind of make sure you're running those numbers and scenarios, obviously, for sure. We have a child. If you have kids in the background, by the way, they're not
It's
ghosts.
the pediatrics.
Downstairs is the pediatric office. Great.
First time I've ever heard them.
Is that right?
First
That's
time
that
I've
loud,
ever-
right? Inside the
Yeah,
room.
in this room here. Yeah.
Great pediatrics place. It's called Pediatrics Plus. Great place in North Haven for your kids. I believe it's Pediatrics Plus. I'm almost positive. So in addition to that, so we have multifamilies, insurance we just talked about a little briefly. In addition to that, when you have a lease, and we go back to the leases, because we just had a client today who had purchased a property a couple months ago, and your tenant on your lease, it should have over there, your client should be telling you what kind of vehicle they're going to be driving or parking there, how many vehicles they're going to have. You should have at least their license plate, maybe even their registration for liability for you and for them. In addition to that, what kind of vehicles are allowed on your property, right?
You mean what type?
What type? Absolutely.
Yeah, can you put a boat? Can you put an RV? Can you put a tractor trailer?
And this is exactly what came up today. Anybody have any questions out there, thing?
Brad Wiseman said happy B-Day.
Thank you, Brad Wiseman. I appreciate that very much, my friend.
2 days ago, right?
2 days ago. 2 days. Sunday.
50 plus 2.
Thank you, Brad. But when it comes to going back to that whole, what you just saying, I'm second sidetracked over here.
Semi,
Oh,
boats,
okay.
RVs.
So you want to rent the place out, and now we had a client that wanted to do it on his own, if you will, with himself renting the place out, and he rented the place out to this guy who said he had a truck. But the next day he showed up after he signed the lease in a 16-wheeler parked in the driveway.
So was it just the trailer? Was it just the truck or the entire?
whole entire truck and trailer. Can you
That's some
imagine?
driveway.
That's it's a very large
Yeah.
driveway, absolutely, and it's a two-family house, so other people need to park in that driveway.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So he actually, I said to him, he said, what do I do? I said, go to the town, find those any kind of ordinances about a tractor trailer being allowed in your driveway, which most likely not. Go to the police department, because that would be beginning of getting it tagged and towed. And then, of course, you have the next steps after that. But he found out with the town that you could not have that kind of vehicle in your driveway, and then you address it with your tenant. Now, is the tenant going to listen? What kind of things will follow with that? So be proactive and make sure to find out about what kind of vehicles specifically they're going to be parking in your driveway or have limitations. Like you mentioned, a RV, right?
Mhm.
It's a big vehicle.
RV, boat.
Boats, right? You don't want any of that probably on your property that you're renting out, especially to other tenants. That
Well, they can have a boat, but I'm gonna borrow it.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad Wiseman, if you're watching again still, love you and your family. Love to see you hopefully soon. Maybe get to do a virtual podcast if you can't do it in person. We've been talking about that for a while. Such good people. I would also make sure that if you have a lease, you want to have an attorney review the lease. I think it'd be a great idea to have your attorney review the lease before handing it to somebody to make sure you're protected. It's a legal binding lease that later on you won't have your tenants fight you on. One of the big questions that came up today is with the tenants and you have a tenant in your house and the rents have skyrocketed. I mean, right now if your tenant's paying, let's say $1,600, that rent might be worth $2,400 today, right? Lease is coming up. Two options. Do you tell them, hey, unfortunately, we're going to be looking for a new tenant here because we are looking for a much higher rent and we have to ask you to vacate, or do you give them the option
Well,
to
you take the
that?
option, say, listen, rent's going up.
Right. but how much can each town may be different as to how much money you can ask for rent going up on them. There might be a percentage, so you might be in a catch-22 as a landlord. You need to find out what is the process if you decide you want your tenant to leave the property. Getting an attorney to evict a client is not easy, or getting an attorney is easy, but the process is not easy and can be a little costly. So it's important as an investor to make sure you understand. And again, not all tenants are bad, by no means. You hope that you have great tenants, and the tenants are great people, and they're building a relationship with you and building their credit up, and hopefully have a chance to buy a house one day, right? That's their goal, and most of the time a tenant wants to kind of get themselves in a situation where they can build their credit, establish themselves, and hopefully go from being a tenant one day to being a homeowner, right? So that's important. Let's see, talking about again, just when it comes to tenants, proof of job and insurance, proof of job and income, and making sure you have good insurance in your property. Eric, I know you have some things over here about landlords and tenants' responsibilities.
I don't have any of it, I don't know what you're talking about.
Rents responsibilities over here. Again, we'll just touch on a couple things
Well,
over
we're
here.
talking to the landlords, so
Yes.
obviously, one of the things you're gonna be responsible for is making sure that, you give them a clean apartment.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's gotta be clean, and ultimately, you're responsible for the hallways as well, the cleanliness, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a company come in probably once a month and probably just clean house.
I like
so
that
to
idea.
speak.
I like that idea a lot. Also, you might want to do what they call a checklist with the tenants, walk through the property with them so they can see that the property is a good, healthy environment, that there's nothing wrong or damage with the property. So therefore, you're on the same page, that later on if something does come up, then it's something you both can address together.
Yep.
Maybe you have a good security deposit, which I recommend 2 months security. A lot of times today, people don't have 2 months security with these rents being so high. So that might play a role as to what kind of security deposit you have. Pets, smokers,
Oof.
right? What do you
So,
suggest?
actually, well, you have to keep the hallways well lit too. You have to clean
Absolutely.
them, have to keep them clean, but you have to have them well lit. They have to be able to see. Motion sensor lights are probably the best bet on that. But when it comes to pets, it's totally your call. 100%. It's 100%. It's your house. The only thing you can't stop is if you say no pets or no animals, whatever terminology you want to use, and somebody comes in with a service animal, you have to allow that.
And that's a tricky slope right there.
Nope, it's not tricky at all. You have to allow it.
I'll tell you why it's a tricky slope. So what if it's a service animal and it's an aggressive type of dog that's just
Service animals are not.
there's no classification.
I don't think there's any breeds, like let's use pit bulls for instance.
I happen to love them very much.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a service animal out there who's a pit bull. So
Why couldn't it be?
I
though?
don't
Could it be a
think so.
well-trained? Could be a well-trained pit bull that is a service animal that's loving and caring and very
Yeah,
helpful.
I'm not thinking that that's a breed that anybody's going, oh, look, there's my next.
Okay, I'll give you a great dog that's also a dog in the list that is very, very smart. German Shepherd and Doberman. Those two dogs are probably the smartest of dogs. I shouldn't say smart because I'm very much kind of giving a label, but I'll say very smart dogs who can definitely be service animals.
Yeah.
Um,
All the other breeds that are feeling slighted by Dave's statement, Dave's email is, that's okay, dogs are not gonna send you emails, so don't worry about it.
but the question comes down to again is like, so a pet.
They're not.
When you're
Dogs.
when you're a landlord, do you want a pet in that house? You have to decide that. Also, smoking. These are the things that destroy a house internally, and a pet, unfortunately. And I don't want to single out animals, but like if you have cats.
I have a client whose second floor tenant has cats. And you would think cats, nothing, they're fine, whatever, okay. Not if you don't clean that litter box.
Or if they pee on the wood
For
floors.
weeks.
Right. Or
Okay.
if the cat sprays.
But you can report it to the city. You can report it to the city.
As a landlord?
Yes, you know how like you have noise ordinances?
Yes.
Okay, there is an odor kind of ordinance that you can complain about the smell.
So you're assuming that, and we're saying this, which is kind of role playing, we're assuming that the landlord, if he doesn't live in the house, knows of, or someone.
Well, client on the first floor, yeah, so the tenant on the first floor, the tenant on the third floor has to walk past the second floor on the way, I mean, and I've been there, so
Right.
I've been to this house, and
Yes.
I've been to the house, and
Oh,
I've been
there's
to
an
the third
example,
floor.
actual
Oh, no, this is
example.
actual, yeah,
Okay,
and, cause I was showing the third floor,
yeah,
and the scent coming out of the second floor, I mean, the second you open
Atrocious.
the first floor door, the hallway door, it was
You
just
want- you want-
ammonia, just pure ammonia,
ammonia,
from the litter box,
right.
the urine, so
It's-
it's just horrible.
Anybody out there have any more comments or suggestions or anything else at all? This is all things you wanna think about, again, to be an investor, to be a landlord. Not that we wanna put any poo-poo on it, because we have lots of clients who are investors and buying properties, and it's a great investment, a great opportunity today, and this market's amazing. But you just have to know the lots of things in between that comes with being a landlord. And, you know, what exactly are your responsibilities of the property being clean and safe? Like you mentioned, you have to make sure you take care of mechanicals in your house. How often are you having mechanical service, right? You may have 1, 2, or 3 or more heating systems. You have to make sure as an owner that you're taking care of the product of your house. So,
I didn't know this was a requirement. 2 electrical outlets in each room. You have to have 2 electrical outlets in each room.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point you make. I'm gonna talk about paying on time. If you're a tenant, make sure you pay on time. Understand that your landlord needs that money to pay their bills, to pay that mortgage. And if you don't pay on time, what is the consequence, right? Or as my daughter would say, she said consequence? She said, consequence. What is the consequence, my daughter would say. So what is the consequence of not paying on time? Does it affect your credit? Can a landlord report your lateness to the credit agencies? How many times can you be late before they can report?
Well, they have it now where you can get credit for paying your rent on your credit score.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's smart.
So,
Eric's phone is going bananas.
Did you-
here.
did you hear that?
I did. I felt
It
it
was
too.
going bonkers.
Bonkers. Keeping the apartment and the surrounding areas clean and in good condition. Keep noise to a level that will not disturb your neighbors. Repair any damage to the apartment that was fault of the tenant or the tenant's family members or guests. These are responsibilities of the tenant, by the way. So paying on time, keeping apartments, surrounding areas clean and good condition. Keep the noise level down. Be respectful to your neighbors, right? Let the landlord know immediately if the apartment needs repairs. One of the things that a good tenant will do is, hey, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, we have a problem here with the plumbing, we have a problem with electrical. Let your landlord know so they can repair it quickly and get it taken care of. Don't think that telling your landlord that there's a problem is gonna get you into trouble. They need to wanna know about the problems. They should wanna know.
And, well, don't address it yourself either.
I would agree with that 100%.
No DIYs.
No DIY. You know what, if you did something like that and you hurt yourself or the property, that's just more fallout for you. You wanna do as a tenant, about moving out, one of the most, important things when you move out as a tenant, right? You wanna give your landlord good notice, be respectful to that. Don't try and just dip out, okay? Give them probably, I would say 60 days notice is probably fair and reasonable. And again, each town may have a different setup or your lease. may be
Remember
different.
that, I mean, this person is a future referral potentially,
That's right.
so you don't wanna burn that bridge.
Absolutely true. Well, listen, we talked a lot about tenants and landlords and investing. We have more to talk about with this kind of conversation, and if you have more questions about that, we would love to answer them for you. Again, investing, great idea. Invest in real estate, the best place you can put your money. Will you buy a single-family home, multi-family home? Thanks, not laughing, he's coughing.
They also have, well, remember, I think it was a couple months ago, like 6 months ago, I learned about the guarantors. Did I tell you about the guarantors?
Tell me.
The guarantors is, it's kind of like an insurance on the rent, so that the tenant pays makes a one-time payment to this company, and they cover the rent for that person for either a month or 3 months. Well, I'm not sure what what the term is, but if you go to
Is this
theguarantors.com.
the landlord does this, or the tenant?
So the landlord lists their property with the guarantors. Then what the guarantors does is they have, so you have an applicant, they fill out their application, you
Yeah.
say, you're okay with me, but now you gotta go through the guarantors. So they go to the website on the guarantors, they fill out an application, and the guarantors will determine your level of risk, and then they'll say, okay, let's say the rent is $1,500. They'll say, okay, give us $900 and we'll guarantee your rent. Okay, but it's not for the year. So like if you're month 3 and you decide, yeah, I'm gonna stop paying rent, the guarantors don't pay your rent forever.
Right.
What they might do, and I don't know exactly how it works, but I know some of my clients are using it, that some of the rent is covered, at least probably to bridge them to the point where you can get them evicted, you know? So you
Yes.
got a couple months of rent from the guarantors, it's like an insurance policy, to get some months of rent.
We'll have to talk to you more about that, we have more details. Question out there.
John Max said renter's insurance is usually a wise choice for renters.
That's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
point, John Max. Definitely, if you're a tenant.
Well, some
and if
lenders
you're a
will
landlord,
require.
I was gonna say, and also landlords should definitely require renter's insurance by the tenant, and all tenants should want and need to have renter's insurance because it's cheap. It's like $25 a month.
Did Gene post that from like 30 feet away? He's in the room.
I love it. Well, that's good. He's watching the show and paying attention
Yeah.
too. We
Yeah,
love you,
and
Gene.
hopefully learning something.
Amen and hallelujah. But yeah, definitely want to have a renter's insurance for your clients, or your tenants to have it. You insist on it, put it in your lease. And your tenants should want to have it because it also protects them as well. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to investing. We can go deeper into this and have another podcast about this in a future time.
Yeah, let us know if it's something that you want to go in depth on. But I
Absolutely.
mean, first and foremost, it's finding that place that is not going to cost you money to get up and running.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go to the next part of our show. We give out a free tumbler. And let's see who's going to be the lucky winner of a tumbler today. On, what's today? 2nd of July?
Yeah, I think so.
July 2nd.
So that's something.
We got Nancy Wilson off Instagram.
Nancy Wilson, congratulations on winning a tumbler from Team Powerhouse. We appreciate you watching our show, being a part of our lives every week, everybody. And if you want a tumbler and want a chance to win, please, please, please let us know. We'll put your information on the wheel and you have a chance to win this well next. Thank you so much for joining us this week again. Eric Vasquez.
Thank you, Gene. Good point you brought up.
Thank you, Brad Wiseman, and thank you also to my friend Dennis in Vegas for watching the show and being part of the show today. Love it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. We will see you next week.